Truth lies buried like a sentence deep within a book, waiting to be read. But first, you must broaden your minds. First, you must look beyond. Broaden your minds.
A good and a pleasant day to our listeners. Welcome back to our introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person course. I am Mr. Joey C. Villanueva. I will be your instructor and guide. To look back at our introductory lesson, what we did the last time was to introduce ourselves to the philosophy of the human person. We asked the questions why? Why do we need to study philosophy? How do we go about doing philosophy? And what philosophy is by use of definition and by looking at it from its practical implications in our lives. Before we begin our lesson for today, let's have an overview, a look at the 8 important themes of the entire course of the Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person. So, this is an introductory course to the field of philosophy itself. The intention of the course is not to make philosophers out of students or to coerce you into getting a major in philosophy degree in college. What the course should do is give you a glimpse of the themes, of the concerns of the philosophy of the human person, so that by the end of this course, you will grow wiser, as we mentioned in the beginning of our class. First among these themes is developing a holistic perspective or broadening your horizon. Secondly, it's about distinguishing opinion from truth, learning the difference of the two, evaluating statements, evaluating what we know and what others say to us. The third theme concerns with the who and the what of the human person. The human person as an embodied spirit, what this should mean to you, to me, and to every one of us. Theme number 4 is the human person and his environment. It's about being aware of our interactions with our environment, both with living and non living things. The fifth theme looks on the discussion on freedom and its implications. Theme number 6 is about intersubjectivity. It's about recognizing our fellow man as subjects with reason, with emotions. Theme number 7 is about the person and society, and theme number 8 is about the human person as a being towards death, which, as we mentioned in our introductory lesson, is about acknowledging that we will die someday and what we want to have is a meaningful existence before we die. So, our lesson for today is about the first of the themes of the philosophy of the human person, which is about holistic perspective. But before we begin our discussion, I just want to make a suggestion for further reading. What I would recommend is for us to read The Blind Man and the Elephant by the literary author John Godfrey Sachs. The title of the work and the image that comes with this lesson actually already suggests a lot to us. In this literary piece, each blind man touched a different part of the elephant, and what happened is each of them jumped to a certain conclusion on what an elephant is, or at least what it is like compared to something that they are familiar with. And so the poem concludes. And so this man of Hindustan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion, exceeding stiff and strong. Though each was partly in the right, all were in the wrong. This is exactly the point of our lesson in the theme of the introduction to the philosophy of the human person today. The first lesson is about distinguishing the whole. It's about achieving a holistic perspective of things. As it is said in the slide, the particular refers to a part of the whole, while the universal pertains to the whole. In this philosophical course, we are reminding ourselves that our perception, our views, may be limited as of this time. In accepting this, we are now challenged to expand our understanding by considering different perspectives, different viewpoints of a given situation. In philosophy, we want to try to establish a view that is as objective as possible. To disambiguate the terms that we are using, let us compare and contrast the terms that you might find in the textbooks or the references that you have. Some books may describe this course as attaining a holistic perspective and distinguishing it from what is a partial perspective. Still, in some others, they may call this the universal perspective or the universal point of view in contrast with what is a particular perspective or a particular point of view. In still many philosophy and literary books, this is also called the objective point of view or the objective perspective, which is in contrast with what is subjective. The subjective being what you see from your personal perspective, from your personal point of view. The problem is the subjective point of view may be blinded and biased at times. So, what we want in philosophy again is to establish an objective point of view which is achieved by investigating facts, by overcoming biases, and by looking from the different perspectives. Let's look at these images for an example. So, from a subjective or a partial point of view, from one side, a person may see this image as a circle, or for another person, it could be a square. But by having an objective perspective or a holistic point of view, we would now know and understand that this is actually a cylinder that, when lighted from two sides, would yield a square shadow on one side or a circular shadow from another. These optical illusions teach us a basic reality that we may have different perspectives of reality in life. It, it is a challenge for us to try to understand others. To go on with our examples, the number 6 may look like a number 9 from a different perspective, or this tricky drawing, which looks to be 3 blocks of something from one side or 4 pieces of something from another. Now, just to clarify as well, the problem with the picture above is there's actually a way of knowing whether the first picture is a 6 or a 9. So, meaning, as we go on through our discussion of philosophy, we will also make the claim that as much as we want to respect the opinion of other people, there may be instances when we really have to point out when they are wrong. So, given in this example, we can look and see if there are other numbers written in order for us to know in which way to look. If you play pool or billiards, you would know that despite the number 6 and the number 9 looking the same, you actually have a way to know by way of the color and by way of the lines that are written underneath the digit. So again, as much as we want to respect the opinion of other people, there are valid ways of attaining the truth and proving whether we or others are right or wrong. And that is what holistic perspective tries to teach us. To practice this, what we need to ask ourselves at all times to look at events, situations in our life and look at them from a wider perspective. Look at it from the point of view of others. When we try to ask ourselves what aspects, what situations in our life need to be viewed from a wider perspective, We can look at simple answers like from a personal level, our personal values, our choices in life that other people may not understand, having a conflict or an opinion with others, with our family, our parents, our teachers, or our peers. In the social level, we can look at the spread of fake news or disinformation or the political situation in our country. These are situations that challenge us to obtain a wider perspective, to look at the whole. Now, how do we achieve objectivity? How do we achieve a wider perspective? Some tips on this. So, firstly, we attain an objective point of view by always examining the different perspectives of a given situation or a given event. We gain an objective perspective by remaining open and broad minded, by avoiding being narrow minded and biased. The exercise of being objective is like that of being a judge that listens to both sides of an argument. This exercise of likening ourselves to a judge that listens to both argument, we also call this in philosophy the dialectic method, and this is also useful in this chapter about the holistic perspective. So, dialectics is an art of refutation, or we can say debate. In this dialectic or dialogue, philosophical discovery is seen as a result of collaboration with partners in dialogue. Not like in a debate where sometimes our goal is to embarrass or prove the other side wrong. In the dialectic process, what we want to do is present our arguments, listen to the arguments of the other side so that we can sift what is true and what is not. So, in the dialectic process, initially there are two sides, the side of the thesis and the other side, which is the antithesis. Now, in the dialogue, in the dialectic process, where the thesis and the antithesis are examined closely and looked into, sometimes what happens is we develop a synthesis of the two, combining the elements that are true, removing the elements that may prove to be untrue. So, in evaluating perspectives, we acknowledge that one side or party may not have the monopoly of what is true. So, the main challenge in learning philosophy and in learning more in the philosophy of the human person is to always have an open mind, to remain open and broad minded. And this is what philosophy teaches us. Philosophy teaches us to be open to the truth and to strive to know better. Once again, I wish you a wonderful journey towards the truth, a wonderful journey in this course in philosophy. Thank you very much for your time and thank you for listening. If you went as far as reaching to the end of this video, I would like to once again invite you to subscribe to this channel for more lessons in philosophy. Share this with others. Share this with your classmates. Ask them to subscribe as well. You can drop questions at the comments section below and I can try to answer them so that we can journey more into these lessons in philosophy and grow more in wisdom. Thank you very much.